Imagine waking up early, already feeling the weight of the day on your shoulders. Traffic is chaotic, the boss charges impossible results, and you barely have time to breathe between one task and another. At the end of the day, the feeling is that you are always running but never getting anywhere. Look familiar? What if I told you that there is an ancient philosophy created over 2,000 years ago that can help you deal with all this more lightly and consciously? This philosophy is Stoicism, and one of its greatest exponents was Seneca, a Roman philosopher who lived in a time as turbulent as ours. In this video, we will explore 15 fever lessons for self-control, showing how you can apply these teachings to turn challenges into personal growth opportunities. Whether dealing with stress at work, relationship anxiety, or uncertainty about the future, Stoicism offers practical tools for you to recover control of your life. But why Seneca? He was not only a philosopher, but also a man who faced exile, wealth, power, and finally death. Their lessons are not theoretical. They have been tested in practice in extreme situations. Best of all, they are completely applicable today. So if you are tired of feeling overwhelmed by the emotions and pressures of everyday life, this video is for you. Let's find out how Seneca's teachings can help you live a more balanced, focused, and significant life. Ready to start? Let's go. Before we dive into practical lessons, it is important to understand who Seneca was and why their ideas remain relevant today. Lucius Annus Seneca was born in 4 BC in Hispania, present-day Spain, and became one of the most influential philosophers of the Roman Empire. He was an advisor to Emperor Nero, one of the most controversial rulers in history, and lived in a time marked by political intrigues, betrayals, and excesses. Despite his proximity to power, Seneca was not a man immune to adversity. He was exiled for 8 years in Corsica, accused of adultery, a punishment he faced with resilience and serenity. Years later, already rich and influential, he continued to reflect on human nature, wealth, and death. His life was, in many ways, a laboratory for his philosophical ideas. But what is Stoicism anyway? In a nutshell, it is a philosophy that teaches to live in harmony with nature and to accept what we cannot control. Stoics believed that happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on our ability to control our reactions and emotions. For them, true freedom is in self-control. The 3 pillars of Stoicism are A. Self-admission, the ability to govern our emotions and desires. Resilience, the strength to face adversity without losing its serenity. Focus on what we can. Control, the wisdom of distinguishing between what is and what is not in our power. These principles may seem simple, but they are deeply transformative when applied on a daily basis. Imagine, for example, how it would be to deal with a discussion at work without losing calm, or facing a financial crisis without being overwhelmed by despair. This is what Stoicism offers: tools to navigate the storms of life with more clarity and balance. And why is this so relevant today? We live in an era of excessive information, expectations, comparisons. Social networks constantly show us what we do not have, and the pressure for success and happiness can be overwhelming. Stoicism, with its timeless lessons, helps us find peace amid chaos, focusing on what really matters. Now that you know a little more about Seneca and Stoicism, it's time to dive into the 15 practical lessons he has left us. Shall we start? Lesson 1. Accept what you cannot control. One of Seneca's most powerful lessons is the idea that not everything is under our control. He taught that frustration and anxiety arise when we try to control the uncontrollable, such as traffic, climate, or actions of others. Instead of fighting these situations, Seneca proposes that we accept them with serenity. Imagine that you are stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Instead of annoying and cursing the front driver, you can take a deep breath and think, "This is out of my control. What can I do now?" You may use this time to hear an inspiring podcast or reflect on your day. Acceptance does not mean passivity, but the choice of not wasting energy with what cannot change. Seneca summed this brilliantly. Accepting what happens is the first step to overcome the consequences. When you practice this lesson, you realize that many of your concerns simply evaporate. Lesson 2. Practice the break before reacting. How many times have you impulsively reacted to a situation and regret it later? Seneca knew that emotions, especially anger, can lead us to hasty decisions. Therefore, he recommended pausing before reacting. This pause, even soon, allows us to reflect and choose the best answer. Let's go to a practical example. Your boss criticizes her work at a meeting. The first reaction can be defense or even anger, but if you take a deep breath and count up to 10, you can answer more calmly and assertively, such as, "I understand your concerns. I will review the project and bring a new version." This approach not only solves the problem, but also demonstrates professional maturity. Seneca warned, "Anger is like a fall. It's easier to avoid than stopping." The break is precisely this barrier that prevents the fall. Over time, this practice becomes a habit, strengthening its self-control. Lesson 3. Transform obstacles into opportunities. Seneca believed that obstacles are not barriers, but growth opportunities. He saw each challenge as a chance to exercise virtue, resilience, and creativity. This mindset is especially useful in times of crisis. Think of someone who lost their job. Instead of seeing as a victim, this person can face the situation as an opportunity to rethink their career, learn new skills, or even undertake. Seneca would say that unemployment is not the problem. The problem is the lack of perspective. He wrote, "What gets in the way can drive us if we know how to use it." This lesson teaches us to see beyond difficulties, seeking learning and growth in each situation. When you adopt this mindset, obstacles are no longer threat and become steps to success. These 3 lessons, accept the uncontrollable, pausing before reacting, and turning obstacles into opportunities, are the basis of emotional self-control. They help us deal with emotions more consciously and balanced, preparing us for the following challenges. Lesson 4. Get ready for the worst, but wait for the best. Seneca taught that the premeditation of ills, that is, imagining the worst possible scenarios, is a powerful way to prepare emotionally for adversities. This does not mean being pessimistic, but being mentally prepared for any situation. When you have thought about what can go wrong, it is easier to deal with problems when they arise. For example, imagine that you are about to make an important presentation. Instead of just cheering that everything goes well, you might ask yourself, what would I do if the projector broke? What if I forget any crucial points? By preparing for these possibilities, you reduce anxiety and increase confidence. Seneca summed this up with the phrase, "The premeditation of ills makes us stronger." This practice not only helps us to face challenges, but also to appreciate more moments of tranquility. Lesson 5. Learn to lose. Losses and failures are inevitable in life, but the suffering we feel with them is optional. Seneca believed that the way we deal with losses define our character. He himself faced the exile and death of loved ones and used these experiences to strengthen their resilience. Imagine that you have been rejected in a job selection process. Instead of letting yourself down, you can reflect, what can I learn from this experience? How can I prepare best for the next opportunity? Seneca would say that rejection is not an end, but a new beginning. He wrote, "The loss is inevitable, but suffering is optional." When you face losses as growth opportunities, they become less scary and more transformative. Lesson 6. Cultivate patience. In a world that values speed and immediate results, patience may seem like a forgotten virtue. However, Seneca saw patience as one of the keys to resilience. He taught that everything comes at the right time, and that impatience only generates frustration and anxiety. Think of someone who is trying to learn a new language. At first, progress can be slow and discouraging, but if that person cultivates patience and persists in studies, it will eventually see the results. Seneca reminds us, everything comes at the right time for those who know how to wait. Patience is not passive. It is an active choice to rely on the process and keep the focus even when the results take time to appear. These 3 lessons, prepare for the worst, learn to lose and cultivate patience, are essential for developing resilience and perseverance. They help us face adversity more serenity and focus on what really matters, even when things do not go as planned. Lesson 7. Long live the present. Seneca warned that many people waste their time worrying about the past or anxious for the future, while neglecting the only moment that really matters, the present. He believed that true happiness is in living fully each day, without being dominated by regrets or expectations. Imagine someone who spends hours on social networks comparing his life with others. This person is physically in the present, but mentally distant, attached to a cycle of comparisons and dissatisfaction. Seneca would say, "Hurry to live well, and think that each day is a life by itself." When you practice full attention, whether in a meal, a conversation, or a walk, you rediscover the beauty of the present moment. This lesson teaches us to value the now, because it is in it that life really happens. Lesson 8. Set your priorities. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to lose focus on what really matters. Seneca taught that the key to a significant life is to define clear priorities and devote time and energy to what is really worth it. He criticized those who dealt with trivial tasks while neglecting their most important goals. Think of someone who spends hours watching the series or surfing the internet, but complains that he has no time to exercise or study. Seneca would say that the problem is not the lack of time, but the lack of focus. He wrote, "It's not that we have little time, but we waste a lot." When you define your priorities, whether you spend more time with your family, invest in a hobby, or advance your career, you take the reins of your life and direct your energy to what really matters. Lesson 9. Learn to say no. One of Seneca's most practical lessons is the importance of setting limits and saying no. He believed that trying to please everyone is a revenue for unhappiness, as it leaves us from our own values and goals. Saying no is not selfishness. It is a way to protect your time, energy, and inner peace. Imagine that a co-worker asks you to take an extra task, but you are already overwhelmed. Instead of accepting for fear of displeasing, you can answer, "At the moment, I'm focused on other priorities, but I can help you find another solution." Now, Seneca summed this up with the phrase, "Anyone who tries to please everyone ends up not pleasing to anyone or themselves." When you learn to say no, you create space for what really matters and lives according to your own values. These 3 lessons, live the present, define priorities, and learn to say no, are fundamental to a focused and purposeful life. They help us direct our energy to what really matters, avoiding distractions and living more authentically and significantly. Lesson 10. Practice daily gratitude. Seneca believed that gratitude is one of the keys to happiness. He taught that by recognizing and appreciating what we already have, we cultivate a sense of contentment and inner peace. Gratitude helps us focus on the positive, even in the midst of difficulties. Imagine starting the day by writing 3 things you are grateful. It can be simple, like a good night's sleep, a hot coffee, or a dear hug. This practice, known as the Diary of Gratitude, helps us change our perspective and value the little things of life. Seneca wrote, "Gratitude is the memory of the heart." When you practice gratitude daily, you train your mind to see the beauty and abundance that already exist in your life. Lesson 11. Value what you have in a society that encourages us to always want more. More money, more success, more possessions. Seneca reminds us that true wealth is in need little. He taught that happiness does not come from the accumulation of material goods, but from the ability to appreciate what we already have. Think of someone who lives complaining about the small house, the old car, or the insufficient salary. This person may have much more than others, but still feel dissatisfied. Seneca would say that the problem is not in the circumstances, but in the lack of appreciation. He wrote, "Wealth is not in much, but in needing little." When you value what you have, your health, your family, your experiences, you find that happiness is already within your reach. Lesson 12. Simplify your life. Seneca was an advocate of voluntary simplicity. He believed that a life full of excesses, whether from possessions, commitments, or distractions, removes us from what really matters. Simplifying does not mean giving up everything, but prioritizing the essentials and eliminating what overwhelms us. Imagine someone who spends hours on social networks, accumulates clothes that never wear, and is constantly stressed with a crowded schedule. Seneca would say that this person is lost in the midst of excess. He wrote, "Simplicity is the last degree of sophistication." When you simplify your life, either by reducing consumption, limiting time on social networks, or saying no unnecessary commitments, you create room for what really matters: significant relationships, moments of peace, and personal growth. These 3 lessons, practice gratitude, value what we have, and simplify life, help us find peace and contentment in a world full of distractions and excesses. They remind us that happiness is not what we accumulate, but in the way we live and appreciate life. Lesson 13. Know yourself. Seneca believed that self-knowledge is the basis for a virtuous and significant life. He taught that to master our emotions and make decisions aligned with our values, we must first understand each other deeply. This involves reflecting on our motivations, fears, and behavioral patterns. Imagine someone who always reacts with irritation when criticized. Instead of simply blaming others, this person may wonder, why does it bother me so much? What does it reveal about me? Seneca would say that this reflection is essential for personal growth. He wrote, "You know yourself and you will know the universe." When you know yourself, you become more aware of your choices and more capable of living according to your principles. Lesson 14. Learn from errors. For Seneca, errors are not failure, but learning opportunities. He believed that each failure brings us valuable lessons as long as we are willing to reflect on them and change our behavior. The true foolishness, according to him, is to persist in error without seeking to improve. Think of someone who made a mistake at work and was reprimanded by the boss. Instead of feeling humiliated and giving up, this person can reflect, what can I learn from this situation? How can I avoid making the same mistake in the future? Seneca summed this up with the phrase, "Missing is human, persisting in error is foolish." When you face errors as teachers, you turn each failure into a step for growth. Lesson 15. Cultivate virtue above all. Seneca via virtue, which he defined as the practice of wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation, as the greatest good that a human being can achieve. He believed that regardless of external circumstances, true happiness is to live according to these principles. Imagine someone who faces a difficult situation, such as the loss of a job. Instead of acting with despair or dishonesty, this person chooses to act with integrity, seeking new opportunities in an ethical and respectful way. Seneca would say that this choice reflects the true virtue. He wrote, "Virtue is the only wealth no one can take from you." When you cultivate virtue, you live a life aligned with your deepest values, regardless of the challenges you face. These three lessons, know yourself, learn from errors, and cultivate virtue, are the essence of personal growth, according to Seneca. They help us live more consciously, resiliently, and aligned with our values, transforming challenges into opportunities for evolution. Throughout this video, we have explored 15 Seneca's lessons to self-control, showing how the teachings of this Stoic philosopher can help us face the challenges of modern life with more serenity, resilience, and purpose. From emotional control to the practice of gratitude and virtue, each lesson offers us practical tools to transform adversity into growth opportunities. The main benefit of these lessons is the ability to transform challenges into opportunities, allowing you to live a more balanced, focused, and significant life. Seneca has taught us that true happiness is not in the external circumstances, but in the way we deal with them. When you practice self-control, resilience, and gratitude, you recover control of your life and find peace, even in the midst of chaos. Now, it's your turn to put these lessons into practice. What was the lesson that resonated with you the most? Leave in the comments which teaching of Seneca you will apply in your daily life. Also, share this video with someone who can benefit from these ideas. And if you want to deepen even more, I left a complimentary material available for download an ebook with 15 Seneca lessons. Just subscribe to the channel or leave a comment to access. Remember, life is long if you know how to use it. Seneca, thanks for watching, and until the next video,